Gladys Knight was born in Atlanta, Georgia, as Gladys Maria Knight. Gladys showed off her ability to sing at a very young age. She had already begun singing solos in her church choir by the time she was 4 years old, enthralling audiences with a voice well above her years. Her family encouraged her greatly after seeing her potential, and by the age of 8, she had won Ted Mack's first amateur hour television competition, a pivotal early event that predicted the extraordinary career that awaited her. Gladys formed the Pips, a family act that would go on to become one of the most prestigious ensembles in soul and R&B history in the 1950s, with her siblings and cousins. Gladys, her brother Merrill Bubba Knight, and their cousins Edward Patton and William Guestmaid comprised the original lineup. They gradually created a refined, dynamic sound that combined their silky harmonies and well-timed dance with Gladys's deep, expressive vocals. They became well known together in the 1960s and 1970s, thanks to a memorable run of tunes that served as soul music mainstays. They gained widespread recognition during their tenure at Motown Records, where they put out timeless hits like Neither of Us Wants to Be the First to Say Goodbye and I Heard It Through the Grapevine, If I Were Your Woman. However, their greatest level of fame came after they relocated to Buddha Records. Midnight Train to Georgia, a poignant hymn of love and suffering that became their hallmark song, was recorded by them in 1973. Their place in music history was cemented when the single won them a Grammy Award and peaked at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Gladys's unvarnished, heartfelt, and incredibly genuine performance encapsulated the hardships, aspirations, and tenacity of a whole generation. Gladys Knight and the Pips continued to produce #1 songs like Love Overboard, I've Got to Use My Imagination, and Best Thing That Ever. That happened to me during the 1970s and 1980s. They were one of the most adaptable groups of their era thanks to their seamless fusion of pop, crossover appeal, R&B groove, and gospel-inspired emotion. Beyond just the music, their performances were elegant, classy, and united. They were emblems of brilliance and tenacity in the African-American entertainment industry during a period of significant societal transformation. Gladys Knight boldly started a solo career when the Pips retired in 1989, demonstrating that her artistic abilities could be sustained on their own. Her capacity to change while remaining loyal to her soulful roots was further demonstrated by her solo releases. She experimented with pop, gospel, and modern R&B, gaining fresh recognition and expanding one's audience. Her strong religiosity and ties to faith were demonstrated in her 1994 gospel album, Many Different Roads. Although Gladys's later compositions confirmed her reputation as a timeless song interpreter, her talents go beyond just music. She has made appearances on several talk shows and award events, as well as in movies and television shows, including the iconic parts in Tyler Perry's I Can Do Bad, All by Myself and Pipe Dreams. She is a revered matriarch in the entertainment industry in addition to being a celebrity thanks to her strength, dignity, and humility. She and the Pips were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996 in celebration of her enormous influence, and she later received Kennedy Center honors and the National Medal of Arts, all of which are appropriate tributes to a woman whose voice influenced the music of many generations. Gladys Knight still performs, with unwavering passion far into her senior years. Devoted admirers from all around the world attend her concerts, which continue to be celebrations of love, faith, and perseverance. Her impact can be seen in the many musicians who came after her, such as Whitney Houston and Beyoncé, who all owe a portion of their creative heritage to Gladys's emotional integrity and vocal prowess. Like her illustrious musical career, Gladys Knight has had an emotionally complex and tumultuous personal life. She has gone through the happiness and sorrow of marriage, love, and loss over the years. Every chapter adds to the courage and insight she exudes now. Knight's journey through 4 marriages demonstrates not just her tenacity as a woman but also her unwavering faith, depth of passion, and unwavering optimism about life and love. When she was still in her teens at the start of her career, she married James Newman for the first time in 1960. Gladys was juggling the pressures of a budding singing career at the time with her responsibilities as a young wife and soon-to-be mother. Her high school love, Newman, and she appeared to have a bright future together. James Newman III and Kenya Newman, their 2 children, were welcomed into the world and would go on to play significant roles in Gladys's life on both a personal and professional level. However, the strains of show business and the regular time apart caused the marriage to suffer as her fame with Gladys Knight and the Pips grew. Additionally, Newman battled drug addiction, which made their relationship increasingly unstable. Devoted as a mother and performer, Gladys found herself bearing a large portion of the family's financial and emotional burden. The couple's 13-year marriage ended in divorce in 1973, capping a union characterized by intense love and substantial adversity. Despite the suffering, Gladys has frequently discussed that time with compassion, recognizing it as a defining moment that influenced her fortitude and conception of love. Knight wed Barry Hankerson the following year. In 1974, Hankerson was the uncle of the late R&B artist Aaliyah, and a music producer and businessman who would go on to become well known as the founder of Blackground Records. Their partnership was first characterized by a lot of creative energy and mutual aspiration. Both had extensive experience in the music business and were aware of the thrill and stress that accompanied stardom. In remembrance of his mother's legacy, their son Shonga Hankerson would go on to launch the Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles brand of soul food eateries. But the marriage quickly deteriorated. Tension between the two grew as a result of competing priorities, business disputes, and personal difficulties. The partnership had reached a breaking point by 1979, and it resulted in a challenging divorce on both an emotional and professional level. In Gladys's life, the separation signaled yet another sea change. She started to put more of an emphasis on her inner serenity and spiritual development, learning important lessons about the necessity of striking a balance between emotional contentment and professional achievement. Gladys got married for the third time in 1995, this time to Les Brown, a dynamic author and motivational speaker who is well known for his motivating speeches on overcoming hardship and realizing one's dreams. Because they were both well-known individuals with a reputation for optimism and personal accomplishments, their union garnered national notice. They appeared to be a wonderful match on the surface, two strong, driven people who had each handled life's obstacles with dignity and bravery. Nevertheless, the marriage was challenging to maintain despite their love and respect for one another. The couple started to suffer from their hectic schedules, different lifestyles, and the demands of public life. Gladys and Les got divorced in 1997 after only 2 years. Despite its brief duration, their marriage had a profound effect on them both. Gladys has frequently praised Les, explaining how his positivity and spiritual wisdom enabled her to regain inner peace and self-assurance during a time of transition in her life. Gladys Knight finally found long-lasting happiness in 2001 with William Mc, a guy who shared her strong moral principles and strong religious beliefs. This marriage, in contrast to her previous partnerships, was founded on a strong spiritual bond. For Knight's world, which had long been rife with the turmoil of celebrity and the emotional highs and lows of popularity, McDowell, who was not employed in the entertainment sector, provided stability, tranquility, and a sense of groundedness together. They have devoted a significant portion of their time to community service and humanitarian endeavors, emphasizing issues that are family-oriented and faith-based. Additionally, Knight frequently contributes her voice to gospel music and ministry at the Beulah Baptist Church community in North Carolina, which the couple has been actively involved in managing. She has not only found a loyal companion in McDowell, but also a fellow believer and service provider. Their connection marks the beginning of a new phase in her life, one that is focused on lasting love, thankfulness, and spiritual fulfillment. Gladys Knight, the Empress of Soul, has over 60 years of experience in the music business and has never held back when expressing her opinions. She is now 81 years old and talking more than ever about her close, complicated, and emotional relationship with Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Their bond went much beyond friendship in the workplace. It was based on years of mutual respect, a deep sense of mother care that Gladys had for Michael, and shared experiences as African-American entertainers, shattering stereotypes. She is revealing for the first time how she actually saw him not as an unreachable superstar, but as a complex, talented, and sensitive person. Gladys started off by talking about how she first saw Michael Jackson when he was still a kid and playing with the Jackson 5. "I knew that boy had something special from the first time I saw him sing," she remarked. "He possessed a radiance that was nearly divine before he had reached adolescence. He could hold a throng in his palm." Gladys was already a well-known artist in Motown at the time, and she saw directly how the young Jacksons gained notoriety. She recalled feeling that Michael was a child born to greatness and responsibility the moment she saw his mother, Catherine, backstage. She said that fame came for him too soon. When he was a newborn, he was attempting to bear mountain. Gladys witnessed Michael's transformation over the years from a bright youngster to one of the most significant performers in history. She claimed that Michael did more than just perform. He changed. He devoted every ounce of himself and everything he owned to his craft. People remark about his singing and dancing, but they don't necessarily realize how passionate he was about what he did. She disclosed that Michael was quiet, reserved, and frequently looked for real connection behind the scenes. He wasn't the boisterous superstar that everyone thought he was. He was kind. He would address me as Miss Gladys and discuss faith, love, and music. His soul was so sweet. Gladys also talked candidly about how she witnessed Michael's struggles as a result of his international stardom. "No one is accustomed to that kind of pressure," she stated sadly. "Unlike other people, he was not free to make mistakes. His actions were amplified." ATHOUSANDFOLD. She recalled times when Michael would talk about how emotionally and physically exhausted he was. "Miss Gladys, there are moments when I wish I could just stroll down the street and no one would recognize my name," he once said to me. "I was devastated by that, as that was all he ever desired to be." Gladys responded to questions concerning the controversies surrounding Michael's last years in a firm and kind manner. She remarked, "People forget that Michael was human. Yes, he made decisions, but he was also a man who carried the expectations of the world with him from an early age. When you've never experienced that kind of life, it's simple to pass judgment. I didn't think he was the monster that some people were trying to portray him as. People didn't understand Michael. He was delicate and gentle. He showed love to a world that wasn't always receptive. Gladys also talked about how generations have been influenced by Michael's paintings. No one will ever act in Michael's manner. He permanently altered the musical environment. She thought, for many of us, he opened doors. His vision and inventiveness were brilliant, and it sprang from a very emotional place. There was a backstory to each note he sung. People think of him as a legend, and he was, she said after pausing. But to me, he'll always be that little boy from Gary, Indiana, with stars in his eyes. Gladys acknowledges that she continues to sense his energy even after he passed away decades ago. I feel him sometimes when I perform, she remarked quietly. It appears as though he is there, grinning and observing. I am certain that he is now at rest, at last unburdened by the cacophony of this life. Michael gave us his heart, she said, her voice quivering a little. We owe him our understanding since he offered us his delight. He deserves our kindness. Gladys has taken on the role of a custodian of musical memory in her elder years, one of the few painters still alive who has direct knowledge of so many of the greats. She sees her reflections as a gift rather than as rumors or disclosures. She added, I'm not speaking the truth to cause trouble. Michael deserves to be remembered as the lovely person he was, which is why I'm sharing this. I miss that guy every day, and I genuinely adore him. Her remarks are a reminder of the high price of celebrity, as well as a eulogy. Having gone through her own struggles in the spotlight, Gladys Knight is aware of the cost that famous people like Michael Jackson had to pay for their fame. She ultimately remarked, we all wanted a piece of him, but peace was what he most needed. Hopefully, he has that now. Knight performed the Lord's Prayer in his eyes on the sparrow during Michael Jackson's 2009 funeral. Gladys Knight achieved something unique in her candor, not only the reality of Michael Jackson's existence, but also the myths underlying humanity. Her observations serve as a reminder to the world that Michael was a man who yearned to be accepted for who he really was. Beneath the records, the glitter and the moon